What's up guys, my name's Liam and today we're going to be kicking off our in-depth Artisan mousepad series starting out with the FX Zero. I've owned all these mousepads for over 4 years, so we're going to go into some great detail on what it's like to actually own them. So here we have the Artisan FX Zero in XL, and this is the mid version. For those of you that don't know about Artisan or have been sleeping under a rock in the esports gaming community over the past few years, these pads have exploded into the market with the most insane quality and next level performance compared to any other offerings that were on the market at the time. To this day, people have still not been able to replicate the exact same quality and standards as the side stitching on these mouse pads. So it's been a known fact amongst the community that if you're looking to get the best of the best, that Artisan sits at the very top. I know these pads have been widely talked about over the years, but just to give you guys some context, when I purchased these pads are actually the reason behind me wanting to start a YouTube channel in the first place. And one of my greatest regrets to this day is that I'd waited so long to do it. As I'd mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'd purchased all of these pads over 4 years ago. To put that in context for you guys, that was before Board's YouTube channel even existed. That was when your only real true source of any type of gaming mice, Rocket Jump Ninja, was only really the main person around. There were a lot of other big tech channels starting around that time, but there was a whole void on YouTube missing these pads, and that is why I purchased them, because luckily at the time I had the means to do so, but also I was so fascinated with these pads and I was just really excited to check these out. So to my knowledge, the current state of these mouse pads is unfortunately they're not as easy to obtain again. They were being obtained by Lethal Gaming Gear, Max Gaming, and as far as I've seen, they're no longer being offered at those sites. I do know of all the drama that unfolded with Lethal Gaming Gear where they started making their own pads and they tried making their pads very similar to the Artisan pads, which I don't see that being a very big deal because that's all anybody's been doing for the past few years anyways. But you know, to each their own. It was their decision. So I'll try and kind of help walk you through the website. It's not the most painful experience in the world, but it's definitely not the easiest. And there are some long waiting times before you actually do receive the product. I mean, obviously when I bought them, this was a long time ago. I'd imagine the process is still similar. I purchased them and I waited. It was around 2 weeks, maybe a little over 2 weeks or something like that. So as you can see, there's 3 series here. It starts out with the Classic series, the FX series. They also have an RM series here, but you'll want to stick to the FX series. These are the best options. The FX Zero instantly became one of the most popular gaming mouse pads for FPS shooters like CSGO and Valorant. This is actually the slowest mouse pad that they offer. And in this series, I'm going to start at the bottom with the slowest mouse pad, and I'm eventually going to work my way up to the fastest series, which is the Shinden Kai. So please make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're interested in watching those videos here in the future. So there are 4 sizes. You can either get a small, a medium, a large, or an extra large. Obviously the choice is yours, but I'm going to say right off the bat that I recommend the XL version. This is by far the most popular one that all the pros use, at 49 centimeters in height and 42 centimeters in width. The other option that you'll have is these mouse pads come in 3 different densities. The first one is being X Soft, which is at 4 millimeters. This is a more spongier, cushiony type of a mouse pad. The other one is the soft, and that one comes in at 3.5 millimeters. This one is also spongy and cushiony. This one is actually pretty similar to the X Soft. The third and final option, the mid, comes in at 3 millimeters, and this is the stiffest cushioning out of the 3. We'll get into details shortly, but I want to say that I absolutely recommend getting the FX Zero in the mid version. This mouse pad consists of 3 layers, starting with the bottom, which is made of Poron. The Poron base is definitely much stickier on a desk with the X Soft and soft versions over the mid. However, with the mid version, I do want to report on both of my wooden desks that I currently have. Once you seat the mouse on there, I don't get any type of play or anything like that. The second layer is what Artisan describes as a single foam of special structure. And Artisan claims that this foam has incredible flatness and resistance to curling. And the third layer being the surface of the mouse pad, which is made of polyester. And what Artisan uses for this process is a circular knitting, which is similar to a twist yarn style. And that's what makes it a slower pad, because in the twisted yarn style, there are irregularities in the twisted yarn. And for this version, the XL FX Zero Mid, the current price on this is 4,800 yen, which equals to about 36 US dollars. The total price for this mouse pad is going to be just over $60 if you're looking at getting this mouse pad shipped to America. These mouse pads come standard with their company logo in the bottom right side of the mouse pad, and it's not intrusive at all whatsoever, and the quality is held up greatly over time. As you can see on my version here, they used to offer a picture of your choice you can put up in the left-hand corner, but I don't believe that they're offering that option anymore, unfortunately. And the final detail I'd like to talk about is the insane stitching on this mouse pad. The number one thing that blew me away about this mouse pad when I first got it, besides the insane quality, was how incredible the stitching was. As you can see here, the stitching is actually lower than the actual base of the mouse pad. So when you're actually using this mouse pad, you don't feel any type of discomfort from the edging or anything like that at all whatsoever. It's just a seamless glide of the material that the top of the mouse pad is made with, and it's incredible. One of the mouse pads that Artisan compares this mouse pad to is the QCK. The QCK was one of the most commonly available and most popular mouse pads. Having a huge presence in FPS games like Counter-Strike back in the day, it was notoriously known for its insane stopping power. Though these pads are not exact, in my opinion, I do see some similarities in the way that they feel and perform. The FX Zero is phenomenal for flick shots and being able to stop on the dime, giving you the most control out of any pad they're offering. And the mid version does feel faster than the X-Soft, Soft, and other cloth variants on the market. There's a bit of static friction with this mouse pad. Once the mouse moves from a rested space, or if you're trying to make micro adjustments, it is a little challenging than others. But overall, once you get going, the glide feels incredibly smooth and it is pretty quick. This mouse pad without question is going to be best for you if you need the most control and if you play games like CSGO or Valorant. You can use this pad for Call of Duty depending on your play style, but it wouldn't be my first choice. And I wouldn't recommend this pad for high-paced games. If you're playing games like League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, where your mouse sees a ton of movement, or high tracking FPS games like Apex Legends or Overwatch. Still pull it off though, and believe me, I know people that use this mouse pad and kill it in games like Apex Legends, but it still wouldn't be my first option. It all comes down to the way you play and your style and the way that you're able to adapt in a game. I definitely do notice the type of skates that you're using, the shape of the skates, the size of the skates do have an impact on this mouse pad when you're actually using it. So to get the most out of this mouse pad, I created a tier list with mice that are out there, and I'm going to rank them from worst to best to how I feel they perform on this mouse pad. At the bottom of the list, we're going to start with the Finalmouse Starlight series. And these are the worst performing mice on this mouse pad in my opinion. And let's talk about why I think that is. So as you can see, what I've noticed here, and you'll see a common trend, is that these mice feet are very tiny. Not the tiniest out there. There's things like dot skates and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I have lots of dot skates, but I don't use them because I don't really prefer them. These smaller feet feel kind of scratchier. You definitely notice a lot more resistance, and I feel like you notice a lot more inconsistency with the glide when you're using smaller skates. And for context, I want to let you guys know I am pushing down really hard. I obviously wouldn't be pushing this hard normally, but I do want to give you some context into what I'm feeling and hearing in the best way I can describe possible. Next up on the tier list, I would put the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. The reason that this is the second worst is, as you can see, it does have similar type of smaller mouse feet. I do feel like this does glide a little bit better and feel better than the Finalmouse. It actually does come with bigger skates as well that are included in the packaging. If you did want to opt for this type of a mouse pad and you do want to main the Lamzu Atlantis Mini, then it'd probably be best to swap over to the bigger skates that are included with the mouse. All right, next up, we have the G-Wolves HTX. I would put this somewhere in the middle tier, and just to give you guys a heads up, I do actually feel like this mouse glides great on this mouse pad, and this is a very lightweight mouse. So if you're just a relaxed claw grip user or a fingertip grip user and you're just looking for a little bit more control, this is actually a really great combo, and I'd put it at the top here. The reason that I'm downvoting it and I'm putting it in the middle is I actually discovered an issue with the HTX that I didn't even know existed until I tried testing out these mouse pads. So what G-Wolves did in order to make the HTX as light as possible, they made these custom mouse feet. And the one thing about these mouse feet is I don't know the exact thickness of them, but I can tell you right now that they're extremely thin. And in fact, with all the mice here, they're thinner than any of the mice feet that I have in these current offerings. And when I was really trying to get into it and I was really trying to dig down, what I noticed is these mouse feet are so thin that when you push down the mouse pad, and this is even with the mid version, so it'd be even worse with the soft or the X-Soft version, it actually scratches the mouse pad. So I'll do a demonstration for you guys really quick. I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to ruin the mouse pad or scratch it up or anything like that. If you're going to be using this for just fingertip or relaxed grip and you don't push too hard on the mouse or get too aggressive with it, then you shouldn't notice this being an issue at all. Like I said, I've been maining this mouse and have not even noticed this issue once until I put it through extreme testing like this. All right, so next on the list, we got the full-size Lamzu Atlantis. And this is also kind of sitting in the middle tier. As you can see, this does have the bigger feet, kind of similar to the Viper Mini style, but a little bit smaller. For normal claw grip, fingertip grip, it feels great. All right, guys, so next up we got the Viper V2 Pro, and this one's actually going to come in second place. It does have that longer skate on the bottom. It still has the smaller skates up front. However, these two perform great on here. And if you do push down kind of harder, you do notice that the back feels a little bit smoother than the front, but just in normal casual play, I don't think that it'd be too much of a noticeable difference. That's just when I get really rough with it. But aside from that, the bigger mice with the bigger skates, to make it plain and simple, are by far the best performing on this mouse pad. So let's do a sound test on the Viper V2 Pro. Last but not least, the PRO Superlight. And obviously, if you look here, and you guys know the skate design very well by now, it does have the bigger skates in the front and in the back. And overall, this gives the best experience, in my opinion, for the overall design and feel on how it maneuvers on the pad. It has less static friction when it takes off. It glides perfectly, and it still has that insane stopping power. So let's do a sound test to hear how the PRO sounds, and I'll compare it to the other mice. One of the biggest issues that I've personally had with this mouse pad is this is by far, out of all the mouse pads I've tried, the hardest to keep clean. This thing gets dirty, and let me tell you, when it gets dirty, it has a huge impact on the way the pad performs and plays. I've seen a lot of controversy online about people using these mouse pads, and it's definitely been an issue that almost everybody's encountered. I have heard rumors, although it's nothing that I can confirm, that the newer versions of these mouse pads, Artisan did change up something in their process to make the mouse pad so they don't get as dirty. The one major issue that I had when I was using this mouse pad is it kept getting all these hairs stuck in it. And I've never experienced this type of an issue with another mouse pad again. What I would be doing as I would be gliding my mouse across the mouse pad, I would feel something poking, like annoyingly poking at my hand. And what it came to be was that these little micro hairs that were actually on the mouse pad. And I couldn't even pull most of them out with my fingers. I actually had to get a pair of tweezers to have them removed. So not that I'm saying that cleaning this mouse is a reason for not getting it. I'm just saying that if you do get the mouse pad, just know to clean it on a regular basis. So the next thing I want to talk about when owning this pad is why I recommend the mid version on this pad so much. If you're to opt for versions like the soft or the X soft, I have seen numerous people reporting issues with these mouse pads. One thing with the surface of this mouse pad, as I had previously stated, is I did notice if I was using this pad for a long time without cleaning it, it definitely impacts the consistency of the glide on it. And if you are using something like the soft or the X soft, those tend to wear out. The mid, it just offers more consistency with the glide. I know there are people out there that prefer softer pads, and they prefer pushing into the pad when it comes to stopping and giving you more control over your shots. But there's lots of videos online of people demonstrating of actually owning a mid version of this pad and an X soft version of this pad, and how over time the glide is less consistent. If it starts to get dirty, your stuff gets on the feet, or just rubbing your skin back and forth on the pad, it could definitely slow it down a bit. So that's definitely something you need to keep in mind. And if you're having these issues, I would try and go for like some type of a deep cleaning. But there has been several reports that I've even witnessed and seen firsthand of people with the X soft and the soft version of this mouse pad. Over time, it just completely loses the glide no matter what you do with it. So I would definitely recommend going with the mid version. Whereas with my experience of having this pad so long, I haven't made it always, but I have used it quite often. And the times that I have, I still have a consistent glide across the pad, keeping it clean all the time. When it comes to cleaning this pad, there's really two ways that I recommend doing it, and there's ways that I absolutely don't recommend doing it. One of the ways that I absolutely do not recommend cleaning this mouse pad or any of your mouse pads is with a portable vacuum or with a vacuum cleaner. The issue with doing this is that the suction of the vacuum really pulls up the pad, and as you're moving the vacuum across the pad, it can scratch up and damage the surface of the mouse pad. So I do not recommend doing this at all. If your mouse pad does get a lot of hairs on it and they're hard to remove, you can use a sticky roller to get off the hairs, though this option isn't always going to be 100% consistent. If you do this often, it can prevent you from getting to a state to where you have to deep clean the mouse pad as often. And as you can see, this is just a Scotch-Brite sticky roller. You can pick this up anywhere like Target or Walmart. So the best option to keep this mouse pad clean is to frequently use a microfiber cloth and to clean the pad with a cleaning spray like Lysol and then wiping it down with the microfiber cloth. I recommend doing this every so often as needed, and even if not needed, just to make sure you're staying on top of the maintenance of this pad. That way it's going to continuously give you consistent results. So what I've actually done to deep clean my mouse pads if they get really dirty or I just feel like there's some type of inconsistency there is what I'll do is I'll take them and I'll place them inside of a bathtub. I have a shower head that I can remove with a handle so I can spray down the mouse pad. I'll use a gentle shampoo while I'm wiping it down in one direction with a cloth rag. I highly recommend being very easy during this process. I wouldn't recommend pushing down too hard or scrubbing aggressively. That way you don't damage the surface of the mouse pad. But scrubbing the mouse pad gently in one direction and then rinsing has honestly given me great results anytime that I've done it. And I've had some instances where I've spilled stuff on mouse pads and got them extremely dirty and did this process and it restored it almost as if it was brand new in my opinion. All right, so that's my final thoughts on the Artisan FX Zero Control Mouse Pad. I know there's going to be a lot of people wanting to jump in the comments and throw out the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro. And I'm going to be saving that pad for a later video where I'll actually break down a comparison between these two pads. For now, I just wanted to cover my experience and my love for the Artisan pads. And I just want to put out, I bought these with my own money. I have no affiliation with Artisan at all whatsoever. They don't pay me. They don't send these for free or nothing. So this is just my personal preference and experience. In the next video, I'm going to be going over the Artisan Co. And please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly and if I butchered that name. If you have owned an Artisan pad and you have owned the FX Zero, please let me know in the comments what your experience is with them. And until next time, if you're looking forward to seeing more content like this in the future, please subscribe and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.